Most people do not know how to read a play. People usually go at plays by reading the words as any other kind of reading. They get caught up by the story and do not pay attention to important details in the play script. However, someone who knows how to read a play pays attention to all the starts and stops, gaps, silences, and the bare minimum of description. He is aware that it is all dramatic action. A good play reader, or in this case, a director, must imagine all of those by supplying in his or her mind's eye what the actor and the staging are doing. In this present section, there are some characteristics of a playwright. We can say that a playwright is a rare artist because what he writes is not in the usual literary sense. Moreover, he or she must consider vocal and visual instruments, those are the actors, as well as the stage. Also, his or her creation is set out in a specific way for seeing and hearing by a group meeting together, in other words, the audience. And finally, he or she is considered to have mystical powers, since a well-performed play will be retained in the audience's mind for a long period of time. The perception of play analysis. There are some people that consider that a play is not something to be analyzed. They argue that it should only be felt. On the other hand, there are some that argue that only carrying out a play analysis one can truly understand how a play works. But with all this, what is the importance of play analysis? Well, it allows the director to become consciously aware of the materials, strengths, weaknesses, peaks, valleys, rhythms in the play scripts. An adequate play analysis is no guarantee of success, but it ensures that the director is at least familiar with his materials. Play script is made up of a series of scenes that must be played continuously without any interruption, and then they are repeated at a subsequent performances. To analyze a play, we have to consider that there are some major areas that have to be examined, and those are: number 1, given circumstances; number 2, dialogue; number 3, the dramatic action; number 4, characters; and finally, number 5, idea. Now that we have discussed all this information, it's time to do a little activity regarding this previous data. And question number 1 would be: which of the following options is not an area of play analysis? Would you say it's A, which is given circumstances, B, dialogue, letter C, dramatic action, letter D, the reader's response? And well, the answer of course is option D, the reader's perspective. Now, let us remember that those major areas that have to be examined in a play were given circumstances, dialogue, dramatic action, characters, and idea. And this is the reason why reader's perspective is not a major area to be examined while carrying out an play analysis. Now it's time for question number 2. It says, it is a rare artist because what he writes is not in the usual literary sense. He or she must consider vocal and visual instruments as well as the stage. The previous text refers to two characteristics of a or an, letter A, actor or actress, B, a playwright, C, the audience, or letter D, the reader. Okay, the correct answer is option B, playwright. Just as a reminder, the word playwright is the one used to refer to the author or writer of a play.
In this second unit of the video, we will be discussing about those major areas that have to be considered when analyzing a play. Those areas were already mentioned in Unit 1. However, now we will do it in a more detailed way. Given circumstances. It concerns all materials in a play script that shapes the environment or special world of the play. It is also known as playwright setting. The given circumstances resemble the vase of a building. In other words, they frame the play. Given circumstances are divided into 1. Environmental facts, 2. Previous action, and 3. Polar attitudes. Environmental facts. It is the delineation of the exact place and time of the action as well as the specific information about the environment. It can be subdivided into different categories. A. Geographical location, that is the exact place and climate. B. Date, that can be the season and time of day. C. Economic environment, that is the class level and the state of wealth of poverty. D. Political environment, that is the specific relationships of the character to the form of government under which they live. E. Social environment, that are mores and social institutions under which the character live. And F. Religious environment, that is the formal and informal psychological controls. The previous action, it is what the audience is told happened before the present action begins. All play begins somewhere in the middle or towards the end of things. So, given circumstances include some narration of the past action and it takes all of the first act. Since narration in itself is very dull compared to present action, a good playwright will make narration exciting. It is important that the director pays enough attention to the development of the previous action, since he or she can obscure the production by careless inattention to it. This may cause the audience to miss important points of the play. Polar attitudes. It is the attitude of a character towards the environment that surrounds him. It is the special world of a character. The special world equals environmental facts plus previous action. The special world of a character is always stated at the beginning of the play because it declares his position in relation to other characters. A play is all about how a character is destroyed by or how he escapes from his special world. Dialogue, the facade of the play script. Dialogue is not only the conversation among characters, its main function is to contain the dramatic action. Dialogue is not just the things that people say, but also what they do, for example, their body language or their facial expressions. Dialogue always happens in the present tense. The main purpose of the dialogue is to seek a response out of another person. In other words, it is said that the dialogue is a building process. A says something to B and B replies. The choice of language used by characters vary greatly in plays. It depends on the given circumstances because they delineate how characters behave, their manners or lack of them. Many playwrights who write in prose use a somewhat elevated language since it can produce intense inner feelings in the audience. Now let's practice. Which is one element of the given circumstances? A. Play script. B. Characters. C. Previous action. D. Audience. The answer is option C, the previous action. We have to remember that given circumstances are divided into environmental facts, polar attitudes, and of course the previous action. What is the main function of the dialogue? A. To contain the dramatic action. B. To describe the setting of the play. C. To describe the main character of the play. And D. To talk about the previous action. The answer is option A, to contain the dramatic action.
Now we will begin with the third unit of the video, which will continue the development of the play analysis. To begin with this section, we will talk about the first core of the play script, which is the dramatic action. Dramatic action is the clash of forces in a play, the continuous conflict between the characters. Here lies the emotional content that moves the audiences. Just as the heart and other vital organs make possible living, dramatic action provides the same life given to the play. Dramatic action versus activity. Activity is the how and action is the what. Activities are the externalization of dramatic action. Dramatic action is the message that we want to convey through an action. All action is reciprocal. Action is the clash of forces between characters. They will always be acting in at least two different with a judgment in between. A does something to B. B feels A's forces and decides what action to take. Then B does something to A. A feels B's forces and decides what action to take. Then A does something to B. The cycle will be repeated until A or B is destroyed. Another character enters. The player concludes the action. The second core of the play script are the characters. A character is made up of all the dramatic actions taken by an individual in a play. It is a summary statement of specific actions. How complex or how simple a character is determined by how much he or she participates in the action of the play, the quality of the participation, of what kind of participation it is. Characters have strong feelings or like or dislike for the present inner environment in which they live. Only the principal characters change their attitudes during the play. However, secondary characters act as instruments in these changes. Techniques of character description. Describing a character by writing it down in your own words is the best way to be sure that a character analysis is complete and nothing has been missed out. It is important to bear in mind that a character is determined only after his action and not before. There is a technique that may help you carrying out the analysis of characters, and it is by paying attention to some specific areas of the dramatic action. Desire, what the character wants the most. Object, love, dominance, power, or self-integrity. Will, character's relative strength in attaining his desires. Moral stance, his values. Decorum, character's physical appearance, what he looks like, or his manners. This is only superficial. Character mood, intensity, the actual physical state of the character, his heartbeat, his breathing, his muscle tension. The is what the character wants the most. Option A, decorum. Option B, desire. Option C, moral stance. Option D, will. The correct answer is option B. Let us remember what the character wants the most could be an object, love, dominance, power, or self-integrity. What is the dramatic action? Option A, the clash of forces in play. Option B, the character's values. Option C, the actual physical state of the character. Option D, a made-up of series of scenes that must be played continuously without interruption. The answer is option A, the clash of forces in a play. It is a continuous conflict between the characters. Here lies the emotional content that moves the audiences.
Boom, yo, God. The thing goes grrrr, pop, 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 pop. Skibidi pop, pop, and the poop, 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 boom.